The following program is hosted by immature, irreverent, obnoxious, and often disgusting young men. Listener discretion is advised.
This time on Nude Clan. Yes, Diablo with tits.
Shall we play a game?
Player to another. Dark soul light. Turn on the TV, pick up the controller and play some games with the new clan.
Welcome to another episode of Nude Clan, the video game podcast you all want in your mouth. Yeah. Oh, in your ears. Sorry, I fucked that up. I am Joe.
I'm Caleb.
I am also Caleb.
And Cameron has been fired.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's kicked off the show.
He's done.
Yep. He's gone.
No, he's just off somewhere, not being here with his important listeners.
He's in the land of potatoes.
Yeah. Do with that
Sounds
information
like an awesome land.
as you will. And
Well,
of course,
It's Idaho, man.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not that great then.
Yeah.
it's subpar.
Potatoes is really their only claim to fame.
Yeah, that's a pretty shitty claim to fame. I mean, Ireland could seize the same thing.
Okay, you know what? I take that. I like Idaho. I think it's a very pretty state. But, you know, there's just a gas station every 200 miles is the real problem with driving.
And just
through
about
it.
everyone does drugs there, I swear to God. Like a bunch of family members that I have, they have had problems with that. And it's probably because, you know what? You know what there is to do there?
Potatoes?
Potatoes. You can do potatoes. That's
just
it.
put a hole in the potato. And
Yeah. You know, you go outside, you dig a tiny
It's
hole,
gotta be a baked potato.
you stick a potato in the hole,
who says that?
and you farm it. That's what you do there. So it's really boring. But,
People say the same thing about this state.
well, they're fucking wrong. They've never stepped foot outside in this state. And they can fuck off. You know how many national parks we have? That's right, you don't. You know who also doesn't know? Me.
What the fuck are you saying?
Joking here. There's a ton. There's like 5.
Park. Yeah, we do have a lot of national parks, but Idaho does have Yellowstone, at least a little section of it.
Yeah. Yellowstone really belongs to Wyoming, though.
Yeah, I guess, you know, that is, okay, as far as like the state contests are concerned, like, I'm sorry, Nebraska and the Dakotas, they're down. They're in last place. They're all fighting for last place as well. And I think the only thing that like brings Wyoming up above them is Yellowstone.
Yeah, Yellowstone's awesome. So.
Yeah. Oh, and Nebraska. Jesus Christ, that state, going through that state.
Yep, boring.
Oh boy,
Stupid Midwest.
The flat. Yeah, it's the flat states, dude.
Yeah, they're lame.
Yeah, I'm sorry, listeners who are in the flat states.
Yeah, you know what? When your highest peak is like less than 1,000 feet, you're boring. Just gonna say that you're just boring. Like the one in Florida is like hundreds of feet high or some shit. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, but Florida has a lot of things to do for tourists, and it's got very pretty beaches.
The Everglades, the beaches. It's legit.
You got St. Augustine's
Old
gorgeous
people.
old town.
Old people everywhere. That's a plus, right?
Fucking Florida's great in many ways, and also other ways not so great.
I wouldn't live there again ever, but
my half of my family's from there, so
no, the humidity, dude, I hate it. It's so god awful. Anyway, today we're going to be doing our review of Diablo III, a game that Joe and I beat about 3 weeks ago, and have been waiting for this day to come.
Yes.
Before we get into that, though, we do have a couple questions.
Oh, we do have a couple questions.
But before that,
what has everybody been playing?
Yes.
I've been playing Banner Saga, Silent Hill.
Why are you playing Silent? Oh yeah, that's why.
Silent Hill was the pick. Yeah.
How's that treating you?
I fucking hate it, dude.
Oh, don't give away your review.
I've only played it for like an hour. It's not the whole review. I just fucking dislike the walking backward mechanic. Like fucking crazy.
Is that the only
like,
mechanic?
Who the fuck? Yes, it might as well be because it's the only
You're just
thing that
walking through the house.
That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. I would love that. I'm stoked. I'm excited to play a game. Well, I never mind.
you're excited to play a game.
I was going to say I'm excited to play a game
Depends on
that
the game, but
you.
yeah, I'm excited to play a game too.
I was going to say I'm excited to play a game that I know you can't play, but then I started thinking about the list of those, and it just got too much, so I overloaded.
Fuck you.
It was like within my mind.
I think my list might be worse than Caleb's because Caleb can play what I can't.
Yeah.
So Caleb can play the fucking platformers.
I can.
And I just cannot. Platformers are just they're I can't do it.
They're
Yeah.
your bane.
They're the bane of my existence, man. I didn't grow up playing video games. Like I played some video games when I was a little kid, and then I brought back video games when I was 15. And I mean, besides playing Halo at my friend's house, like that wasn't really a thing. So like I never got the muscle memory. I never built up that reaction time with certain platformers, or like I never got any of that with that specific type of game. So I just can't.
Yeah.
I just cannot fucking do it. So, you know, apparently Caleb has problems with certain strategic sort of games. Like, is that what you would call
No,
that?
not strategic. It's just fucking
I would
ridiculous.
say I would say shooters. I would say driving games.
Driving games I do have problems with. Yeah.
I would say RPGs.
At real driving he has problems with. So.
And shooters you've gotten better at, I'll give you that. But I don't know, it just seems when I'm watching Caleb,
Dude!
it looks like it's going to be tough.
Fucking bullshit!
And then it's not always tough. So I don't know.
It's because I'm a sheaf magnet. That is what I am. Every bad possible thing
What
in a
God-
game
okay.
that could fucking happen happens to me.
Sheaf magnet.
All right, so when Caleb was in high school, he was always getting in trouble for swearing. And of course, I was friends with him in junior high and middle school. And being the excellent role model that I am, I swore constantly. So Caleb like really started to pick up on it, and his mom would get pissed at him. I mean, there would be times, even post high school, when I'm just hanging out with him, and I'll be down there like going, right? I'll be like, "Fuck, man!" Like this fucking part, and then Caleb will be like, "Ah, shit!" And then I'd hear upstairs, "Caleb," and he would just get super mad at it. And like I was fine, I was immune. There's like diplomatic immunity for me while I was there, but Craig not so much. So he came up with this word, sheaf, which is supposed to be shit, and that's what he uses
On occasion,
in place.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
sheaf is all the bad things that can happen to someone in a game. Like if someone's gonna die, if someone's gonna get ripped off, killed,
Yeah.
it's usually him.
Yeah,
now
it is.
I don't know if it's
A
necessary.
prime example would be fucking Black Ops. When we played that, there was a guy that fucking killed me 7 times in a row
Oh.
at my spawn,
Dude,
all over the map.
It was more than that. It was like 13 times. You died like 14 times in a row that round, and I went back and watched the video, and all but one of them in that spree was him. He literally killed Caleb, took like 10 steps, Caleb spawns, the guy kills him again. And the whole time, Caleb's getting more and more mad, and his voice is reaching this pitch that I could barely hear. It's like a dog whistle. He's just so high pitched with his squeal of anger. And we're all trying to play this game, and we can't. Like everyone's just busting out laughing. We're doing horrible because we're just overwhelmed by this joy that we're hearing from Caleb's end.
Oh yeah, joy. That is the word
I was
for it.
watching it too. I was watching the kills, and it was always this guy. Like he was just killing you over and fucking over again, and you couldn't stop it.
Nope.
So I
Right
guess
on the spawn.
that in that instance, the sheaf was real, and it was there was no rhyme or reason why it was you, but it was. And you couldn't kill the guy. The guy was just better, so it wasn't going to happen.
Well, it was right on the spawn, and like a couple of them were those Predator missiles just like gunning for me.
Yeah, like
So-
you'd throw up a little buff that you get when you get a certain amount of kills, and it's a missile from above, and it would start out, and you wouldn't see anybody, and then Caleb would spawn, and he just like goes right for Caleb.
Oh, even if there were like a group of other people, it would head towards me every fucking time.
Yeah. Oh man. So that's a little backstory on the sheath comment.
Well, here's the thing that kind of like confuses me about that, because I was raised in a pretty strict Mormon household. We weren't allowed to swear, and I realized that swearing is not like there's no anti-swear rule in the Bible, which has always confused me. Like why don't people just curse? Like
I don't know.
it's not. I understand if you don't want to say God in some context, because it's taking the Lord's name in vain or whatever. But just cursing, like, I
feel it's
have
more
a
like
real problem with it.
I feel like it's more a societal thing than a religious thing.
No, I understand it's a societal thing, but I think when I am in a room of atheists, the room is filled with the word fuck. And so, like, there must be something, man. There must be something.
Yeah.
And what confuses me about your, like, Caleb cursing in your home, or you cursing in your own home with your mom being able to hear you, what confuses me is, like, I think I've sworn in front of my parents 3 times ever in my life. It's not because I'm scared that they're gonna do anything besides, just reprimand me or whatever. But there's this thing called code switching, which is changing your language based upon the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of political shit about this, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, were you unable to just not swear when your parents were upstairs?
I
Because
do,
I
but
pretty much have a block off. I don't swear around my parents. Like, I'm here, and I say fuck every other word. I go home, nothing.
Yeah.
It's harder for me when I'm playing a game specifically like Call of Duty or League of Legends. Those 2 games are the only ones that can really piss me off in that way.
I don't even worry about
Other than that,
like,
I control it.
Yeah, like I've never sworn around Alex's parents. Like in the many times I've gone over there, I have that too, where I just have this is me, and then this is me not around people me around people I can't be me around. So keep the same flair, but change the language around a little bit so that they don't hate me for something as silly as that.
Yeah.
I don't even do it consciously. I just don't swear when I'm up there.
Yeah, I did. There was one time I tried to not swear around my grandparents, and I think it's because I'm around I was around people that I do swear around, because my cousin was there and my aunt Angie was there. But I had this cupcake in my hand, right, and I was like walking to the table, and somebody bumped into me, and I dropped the cupcake, and it landed like fucking frosting down, and I was like, oh, fuck. And like the middle of this huge family gathering, I'm like the only one, and I'm like, I mean,
Only I didn't say fudge.
yeah, and then I was like, crap. So it was really funny to those who were cool with me swearing, but no one else said anything. It was just dead silence, and I was like, damn it. So it does happen, but I do feel like...
Oh, I mean...
I feel like a lot of it is the people you're around. Like when you're around us, it's no big deal. But when it's just your parents, it's like, well, it would just never come up. Subconsciously.
I was just wondering if Caleb was just couldn't code switch.
It's hard for me because my dad would swear, but then my mom was like really against it. So it's like if that like the code switching thing wouldn't work for me because it's like a mixed area.
Are you sure it's not just because like the code switching barrier is it's just like this soup bowl within your brain? Like there's no wall, because Joe has the wall, but for you it's like a pool, and like occasionally something will float up to
Caleb's
the top.
like, I need to build a great wall.
Yeah,
yeah, I do. I guess a bigger wall than what's
separate.
there.
Yeah.
No, it's just like changing your language based on like if you're in a professional situation. Or if
I
you're
do
with-
do that, but
Oh man, I swear at work a lot though.
I curse at school a lot.
I swear so much at work. I'm always
Yeah.
dropping the F-bomb. I'm like, fuck this guy.
I swear I work around my boss because he's cool with it.
Yeah.
And he made a masturbation joke the other day, and I was like, all right. I
Free
guess
reign.
sexual
Everything's
stuff is
fine.
now on the table.
Oh my god.
With your boss?
Sexual stuff's on the counter.
Get a raise out of it,
It's
man.
there, man.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Use it to get a raise.
I will.
Use that sexual stuff with your boss to get a raise.
Yeah.
Do it.
No harm, no foul.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so what have you been playing, Schweiss?
Well, I think it's been exclusively Final Fantasy XI this week. I didn't play Silent Hill. I downloaded it last Sunday, but I was really, really hungover, and I was not going to play a new game. I want to stream it this time. I want to actually stream something in the next
Have you
week.
played Silent Hill before?
No, I haven't. I never have.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'll be a new experience for me. It's not like something where I'm coming in
It's
knowing the
it's a
game.
new experience for me too, and
I've held my own with tank controls in Resi 1 and 2 and 3 for what I could handle.
dude, the battles, they're not bad. It's just the fucking controls. Getting used to them is a pain in the ass.
Yeah. But anyway, what I want to get into, are we going to do any sort of getting fat at the end? We normally don't, do we?
No, not really.
Okay, so the reason why I was super hungover is because I did the sane thing. I went in to Walking Dead the only way I knew how, and that is with a drinking
Plastered?
game. Yes.
Okay.
So initially, the rules apparently were to sip shots, and I wasn't really sipping in the beginning. I was just taking shots, and then I looked and I was like, "Oh, it's a sip." But you know what the problem with sipping vodka is? I can sip an ounce or a tenth of an ounce of vodka, and it will taste the same as just downing the entire fucking bottle. It's disgusting. It is the foulest thing.
But it's low carb.
It is no carb, yeah. Super low carb. So I'm sitting there watching Walking Dead, getting just absolutely shit-faced. And you know what the sad part is? I still remember every bit of what is important with the show. And that night was not good for me. I was like, I was puking all up, every bit of it. And the problem I had was I was still really, really drunk. And I'm sitting there throwing up, and it's just this black stuff coming out of me. And it's black. It's just I have like
Black bile.
yeah, no, it was black bile by the end. After everything was gone, it was just this fucking black flecks coming out of me, and I was like, oh my god, I'm dying here. I'm like laying on my bathroom floor, heaving up this chunk of my body, these chunks of liver or whatever it was. And it wasn't until the next morning that I realized that it was the ultimate amount of pepper that Joe put in my eggs earlier that day. It was, dude.
Your
it was,
eggs, huh?
I didn't see egg. I only saw pepper. Okay, my body must not have processed the pepper at all because it was just pepper. It was just fucking pepper. Like that was what I was throwing up was pepper. No beer, no fucking vodka, pepper. It was freaky, man. I thought I was dying in there. And thankfully I didn't, of course. But that is why I only played Final Fantasy XI this week, because I almost died by pepper.
What does that have to do with getting fat?
I was going to use it as like I don't know. That's kind of the one-off thing that we go off about
Okay.
for fat. But yeah, so Final Fantasy XI.
Are you done drinking? Is that the thing?
I'm done drinking for now. I still want to brew some beer though,
Yeah.
and like I'm going to drink the beer. But I
should do that.
I don't want to drink the beer at the same time because last time. But we need to go up there, that brew
do.
place, and then we'll actually this time I think we should grab ingredients and make our own. Don't do a kit. We just do something new.
Oh, I'm scared of that.
Well, as long as we don't mess up on the measurements for the liquid, we should be okay. That was bad though. Oh my god. Oh.
We need a better way to cool that shit too. I
Yeah.
remember that was kind of just awful.
Yeah, it was a pain in the ass. There's some things
Stuff
we can
cooled
look into.
down. Yeah, we might have to get that little thing that you pop in.
Yeah, the wire thing, the copper
Yeah.
cooler.
Yeah.
That would be cool. I think it'd be sweet to have like a Nude Clan brew, and that's why I want to kind of toy around with making our own.
Brew Clan.
Yeah, the Brew Clan.
I don't
New
think we
show.
can ship that. We can't ship alcohol in Utah,
No,
unfortunately.
we can't. But
No,
we
you'll
can,
have to come get it.
yeah. For the like
His
3
address is...
for the 3 listeners we have in Utah, you're always welcome to come grab some at a mutual meeting location, not here.
Designated via dead drop.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Place of the trunk.
I think I'm in the same situation as you, Schweiss. The only thing I played this week was FF11 for a little bit. I've been really involved with making this movie. And so I've been pretty much thinking about and working on this movie that we're making just for the last 3 to 4 weeks. I've just solidly been thinking about and working on that shit. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad I wasn't doing Diablo 3 at the same time. I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah.
Say out of the way. I enjoyed it. Spoiler alert. But, I'm glad I didn't have to do that at the same time now. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to beat Diablo right now. Which reminds me, we will be doing nominations for our next game, I think today. I'll let you know by the end of the episode. But yeah, the only thing I played this week was FF11. And not even Super Mario Bros. 3 on the train. I was
Wow.
working on shit. So
Yeah, I was going to ask if you were playing anything on your
No.
3DS.
nope, not this week. So, but because we beat Diablo 3 early, we do have a review after we answer a question.
It's true, but first, did anybody beat a game this week?
I'm all sort of... No.
Judging by the boar hog.
I did. I beat a game.
All right, what'd you beat?
I beat Banner Saga.
All right, so 2
Banner
hour
Saga.
Banner Saga game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, how long is the game?
It was like 10 hours.
Okay, so yeah, 2 hour Banner Saga game.
All right.
No, it wasn't 2 hours, Joe. It was 10 hours.
You just said 2 hours. Okay.
I said 10 hours.
No, this is what you just said to me. You said it wasn't 2 hours, Joe. It was 2 hours.
That is not what I said.
Say it again. What did you
You
say?
need to check your fucking
What
ears,
did you
man.
say? Say it again.
10 hours.
2 hours, exactly.
10. 1, 0.
It was only 1 hour?
Fuck you, Joe.
Well, 1 plus 0 is 1.
Fuck you.
All right. So the hog still... Okay, Caleb reigns as Hog Supreme.
Yes. Turns me on a little bit when you say that.
It does remind me, by the way, guys, it's time to get your hog points in this week.
It
Oh,
is.
yes, because next week is the new month.
So before Saturday of next week, so get these in by Friday night. You guys need to give us your updates on your hog points, and do that by going to nudeclan.net and clicking on ye old hog status.
Is that what
Yes.
it's labeled? Ye old hog status?
Please get that in. We want to know what you guys are sitting at, and it would be a shame if you've been consuming media and we're going to use your last month numbers. That's just a damn shame. So right now, Caleb Craig is leading the hog at 24 games. I am behind at 21, and then we go way down with Joe at 13, and then Cameron bringing up the rear at 9.
And
Oh, man.
and missing half the fucking Nude Clan episodes as well.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
there's a correlation there. Who can
I
say?
think there might be.
Who can say?
All right. We got a question?
We do. It's titled Zelda Podcast from Bat
I don't think there's that many
2J. I was curious to hear a little more about Joe and Caleb's attempted Zelda podcast. It sounded like this was your first choice before deciding on Ultima Final Fantasy. Why the switch? Did you guys have a name for the podcast? What's your history with the Zelda franchise? And finally, when will you be playing a Zelda game for Nude Clan? All right. No, it was not our first choice before Ultima Final Fantasy. Not even close. I would have never done Zelda before Ultima Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I remember it being like the second thing you wanted to do like a few months into doing Ultima.
It was like 9
When you
months
had
in.
the idea.
It was
yeah,
way
a
in.
few months in. Okay, so I don't know if you know this, Batman, because a lot of people skipped the episode, but there was a mini-sode on Ultima Final Fantasy, which was technically the pilot of this show,
Yeah.
which is called Mini-Sode, The Naked Truth About Gaming, and it was a 2-hour mini-sode. I just wanted to call it Mini-Sode so that it differentiated,
From an actual
a
episode.
maxi-sode from a
Yeah.
mini-sode.
A maxi-sode?
It sounds like a maxi pad. But a maxi-sode from a mini-sode. But here's the thing. We knew we wanted to do a full gaming show at some point.
Yeah.
And I felt that I didn't want to build up, which we ended up doing anyway. Ultima was doing pretty well back then as far as downloads were concerned. And I didn't want to have to build up a brand new base of people, which is what it would take, because we knew a certain amount of people would follow us onto Nude Clan
Right.
from Ultima. We thought the number was going to be bigger than it actually turned out to be, but either way, like, that's what we wanted to happen. So it was like, let's wait till Ultima gets bigger, and let's wait till Ultima gets in the top 200, which is what we did wait for, and then we can do Nude Clan.
Right. And then it became, okay, how can we pull together more people for this new show, this Nude Clan? And we started spitballing ideas, and we eventually decided, what about Legend of Zelda? It's a long-running franchise, got a pretty good fan base. What kind of podcasts are out there? The answer, not very many, and not very good.
Well, there's some podcasts that are called Zelda Podcasts, and really they're talking about all video games.
Yeah. Those guys are what we call assholes.
They're in the top 200 as well.
Exactly,
with us.
pricks.
No, that wasn't our first. That wasn't. I don't think that was the order of things, actually. Although what it became.
We talked about Metal Gear Solid.
We talked about doing other podcasts, and this was when Ultima was the only podcast.
Yeah.
And maybe Super Sexy. I can't remember. But I had Caleb and Dylan try their hand.
Oh my God, that's right.
At making
that was-
I
their own.
scrubbed that from my inventory.
Yeah.
of
You
brain.
should. You should.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
So-
That was bad.
So I said, guys, you guys should do a Zelda podcast.
Yeah, it was to grow our network using them because these guys had played Zelda for years, and Joe and I not so much.
Dylan and Caleb. That's
Yeah.
right. And I was like, I don't want to do 2 games at the same time. Cut to Nude Clan, and then so it was like,
5.
okay, I think you guys really will enjoy doing a podcast, and you guys should do the podcast together. And then I got him over somehow. I can't remember the steps that led up to this. I got him over, and then I pressed record and went away for half an hour.
It was not
And-
great.
And
That's the
15
end of the
minutes
story.
in, I got a fucking phone call that said, we're done. I'm like, what? It's only been like 15 minutes. They gave me a 12-minute episode for their pilot where they just kind of like talked about the first Zelda, which Caleb had not finished
No,
playing.
I had finished.
And so they were
it'd just been like years since I had played it.
Yeah, well, either way, they were like talking about it like a distant memory, and because they're both like these super introverts, and it takes an extrovert to get the introvert out, I guess. That it was the world's most boring conversation.
It was pretty bad, yeah.
And for weeks, like, I listened to about 5 minutes of it. I couldn't handle anymore. And for weeks, Dylan was like, "Hey, how'd that episode turn out?" And I just couldn't tell him.
Wait, did you ever tell him?
I don't remember if I told him that.
Hey,
it was
Dylan.
fucking terrible.
Yeah, it was bad. Sorry.
Yeah, it's no fault of their own. They never tried to do a podcast. They didn't necessarily. They weren't the ones who were like, "Let's do a Zelda podcast." It was
you.
It was me. So it's my fault basically. But anyway, it didn't work out that well. Now, cut to what the fuck?
A few months later.
It was like a year later. Now, I'm thinking when we started having the idea of like, okay, we got into the top 200 in Ultima. I think we're going to do our first episode in January. So we'll do it at the very first of the year for Nude Clan.
Right, well, we started recording them early, though.
We did.
So initially, what happened in between that is then we decided, okay, Joe and I, we're podcast veterans. We know what we're doing. Let's grab Dylan, and then us 3 play through Legend of Zelda, and we'll do the show.
Right. I'm talking about planning up to that.
Well, that was
So
shortly.
we're in the same place.
That was shortly after, yeah.
So we decided, hey, we want to do a full network. And what we'll do is we'll have these mini shows that will all funnel into Nude Clan being the
They will
mega
end,
show.
and they will end. And
Yeah. So we were like, okay, let's do a Zelda one. Let's do a Metal Gear Solid one.
Ah, Jesus, yes.
And we'll have Ultima Final Fantasy feed in as well. So it'd be basically like, if they like us, if they like listening to these different shows, they will then go on to Nude Clan, which would be the big umbrella show.
Right, and we'll be pulling from all these different markets, from Zelda, from Final Fantasy, from Metal Gear Solid, so it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea as well. Well, you know, and it worked to some extent. Anyway, me and Caleb did try to beat that first Zelda game.
Yeah.
And we decided that we were going to do an episode every... I think there was 9 temples in Zelda, and so it was going to be every 3 temples.
Yeah.
We were going to do an episode there every other week. So we had every other week to try to beat it. We recorded the first episode of the Zelda podcast.
Yep.
And we were fucking rearing to go. And you know what happened?
We couldn't do it.
The game was just too hard for me and Caleb.
I was playing it on the Wii. The controls were awful. No save states. I could not complete the game.
I played it on the Wii as well, and I didn't feel like I didn't feel justified in going, well, I'm just going to restart it on an emulator so I can get save states so I can beat this fucking thing.
Yeah.
Which is totally what I would do now. Or just play it on my DS with the save states. Because,
well,
save
they're beautiful.
states.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, if you're going to give yourself a time limit to beat a near impossible game for you, or at least for me, it wasn't near impossible for Dylan, but Dylan had save states, I would like to add. Then it made doing the second episode almost impossible. And so what kept on happening was like, dude, I'm stuck on Temple 5. I cannot fucking beat Temple 5. There's these 2 rooms that I go into one, and even if I get past that one, I won't beat the second room.
Yeah.
With these motherfucking guys that just destroy. And so I just couldn't do it. And it eventually just like kept getting delayed. And then eventually it was like, well, let's just do Nude Clan, starting in December. And we'll put the episodes out, and we won't tell anybody about it until 4 episodes in.
Yep.
And then we'll drop the show onto the iTunes for great fanfare.
That's right.
Huge audience, right? So we never got the build up for doing the Zelda podcast. It just kept getting delayed, and eventually it was like, oh, okay, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's simply because I couldn't fucking play the game.
But I mean, the idea of the Zelda podcast is manifesting itself within Nude Clan. I mean, we have these series that we're interested in going through. You and I with Diablo.
Sure.
You and Cameron and me with Fable. There are series that we are interested in playing, and it's kind of easier to do it in this format because we don't have to have a separate show, separate feed, separate whatever to have a Metal Gear Solid podcast. Why not just play all the Metal Gear Solids and review them?
After, a couple years.
Yeah, we can still do that. We can still have that if we wish. And
you said series on Fable. We've only reviewed Fable.
it's true, but we're working on 2. I want to get 2 out there.
Yeah.
I want to play Fable 2.
So the idea was to do a bunch of mini shows that would feed into one mega show.
Yeah, mini shows that had an expiration date, because that's something that we kind of want to play around with, a show that ends, because ours don't end.
That would be nice.
Ever.
So that's what happened with the Zelda podcast. It was never the first thing. It was never the thing that I really wanted to do.
Oh yeah, it was Final Fantasy.
The only Zelda game I've played extensively, but even then I never beat it, was Wind Waker, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I've played some of Ocarina of Time, and I've played up to Temple 5 of the first game, which is about half of it, if you're not including going to the reverse world or whatever.
Should we include that for beating it?
I don't know. I don't honestly know. But I think it's just like a hard mode version. I don't think it's actually like extra story or anything like that. So,
Well, there's not really.
Yeah, I think it's just extra. I would count that. I would just count the first 9 as beating it. Which is what we were going to do on the show. Anyway.
Yeah, it is. And Dylan didn't say anything against that, so.
And certainly I would love to do the first Zelda again, since I have the DS and the save states, and it's a possible game to play. Like, look, if it were the mid 1990s or the 80s, and I didn't have 20 million different distractions that are far better than trying to do the dungeon over and over and over and over again from walking where you had to save from.
Yeah.
In Zelda, then you know what? It would be a different story. But as it is now, like, save states are the only way to go with playing that game. That game is It is difficult. I don't think anybody would disagree either. That
it is pretty
for
difficult.
Zelda is a difficult game, especially to play in the old way of playing the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as far as like, us playing a game of Zelda, we've nominated it before. Like, didn't you nominate Ocarina of Time as one of your games before?
I've nominated Ocarina of Time, and I've also nominated the first Zelda.
So it's
Sick
been
guys.
nominated. You guys just didn't pick it.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I kind of like the Nude Clan format. I think it's more enjoyable.
2 games at a time is my max.
Yeah.
That's what I found.
And hopefully we can start really getting some Metal Gear Solid up in here. I would play through those again.
We've nominated it Metal Gear Solid and it was shot down.
Once.
We used to have, I remember like toying with a rule of like you can't nominate a game for so many months that's already been shot down. I don't know if we should continue that, but I don't feel like, I'm going to nominate Metal Gear Solid every time until I get it. Like, I don't think that's the right way of going about it.
Well, I think that's a direct attack.
But there are 4
Yeah,
of
because
us.
he wants to do that with fucking, what was that?
Siphon Filter.
Yeah, Siphon Filter.
It was coming. You know what? I bet you if I would have had Siphon Filter and not pitched the Halloween idea this time, I think Siphon Filter would have come through.
I don't know about that.
It was getting close. It was getting close, man.
Anyway, so if you're wondering why Dylan is also not on this show, he was burned by the Zelda thing, and then... and I do believe this is incorrect. He thought he didn't realize when we were recording Nude Clan, but we had planned it like 3 months out. I just didn't have to do a reminder text every 2 weeks saying, "Hey, remember, guys, we're starting Nude Clan in December." Like that wasn't I didn't do that, and I think he got pissed.
And there may be a resurgence of the Dylan on the show at some point, so we'll see.
Yeah, I don't mind having him on, but that's why he's not a host right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he put a lot of that information down, and then he took off the post off of his blog.
I wish he wouldn't have, but
anyway,
there's some good stuff.
so that's our angle on the story.
Yeah, it was always Final Fantasy. Just remember that. It was never going to be Zelda instead of Final Fantasy. Not in a million fucking years. You hear? You hear?
I am interested in one day beating a Zelda.
Yeah, that would be nice. I would love to. I would enjoy playing the series even. I don't
They're
mind.
fun. They're fun.
Yeah. They're not RPGs though, so keep your pants on.
Speaking of RPGs,
Diablo 3.
Diablo 3, let's get to it.
It has been said. That in the end of all things, we would find a new beginning. But as the shadow once again crawls across our world, and the stench of terror drifts on a bitter wind, the people pray for strength and guidance. They should pray for the mercy of a swift death. For I have seen what the darkness hides. I don't think it's safe here.
Development for Diablo 3 began in 2001, just after the release of Diablo 2, believe it or not.
Holy crap.
And for fans of the series, would remain basically as a rumor for the next 7 years. In 2003, 4 of the founders of Blizzard North, the original creators of Diablo, would up and leave. Bill Roper, Max Schaefer, Eric Schaefer, and David Brevik. From this group, by the way, would form the ill-fated Flagship Studios, which put out a couple games but then kind of went under, and then Runic Games, which is the company behind Torchlight.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they've gone on to do successful things, but nothing to the height of Diablo yet.
Well, of course.
With key staff members leaving, a dude named Rick Seiss would become, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Rick, would become the new head of Blizzard North. But then even more staff left to work on Torchlight with the other guys that had left before. Like, even more key staff members left the next year.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of seemed like they felt like Diablo had its run, and Diablo 3 was like a little much. And
I don't know the reason why. I feel like maybe they were going through development hell since, this is 3 years in. I wonder if they were just like giving up on the project and they're like, well, these guys are, our old bosses are working on this Torchlight game and let's go work on it with them.
I feel like I did read up something about one of the guys for Torchlight, and he did kind of say that he felt like Diablo was something great and he loved it where it was at, and he didn't necessarily want to keep going with it, which happens with big projects. I mean,
Yeah.
you get burned out.
Yeah, so left with their dick in their hands, the only serious Diablo 3 development that happened was like, they had some live recordings of the soundtrack by the Slavic Radio Philharmonic Orchestra. So they did like a good chunk of the soundtrack. And I'm not sure, like I couldn't find out if they had just recorded the soundtrack back then and kept the soundtrack that they recorded, or if this was just like the biggest thing that happened during this terrible phase of production. It was like the only thing they got was like they did some soundtrack stuff. But
You just wanted to use the word Philharmonic, didn't you?
Yeah, because someone I know can't pronounce the word Philharmonic, or when he reads Philharmonic, can't quite figure out what the word is.
Yeah.
Philharmonic.
I didn't say that. I said Philharmonic. I silenced the H.
No, I think
Yeah.
people can look back at the episodes and find out for themselves.
All right, old timer.
And then, okay, so Blizzard closed Blizzard North because of all these issues. They offered some employees a chance to transfer to Blizzard Irvine, while others got a severance package, which is unfortunate. I think it would be kind of rough that you've been working on this game for 4 fucking years, and it's like, hey guys, we're closing this down.
Yeah, it would suck, yeah.
Even in late 2005, by the way, the Rick Seiss guy, he even left the company to go work on the other shit that
On Torchlight.
the other creators were making. So by 2006, almost all previous work for Diablo 3 was tossed, and even the book writer, or one of the Diablo book writers, Richard A. Knack, called the series dead. He said he didn't want to write books for a series that was dead. That was a quote from him in 2006. And for 2 years, that's basically all the fans got. So all the fans got were rumors from 2006 to 2008. There were some job boards that were open for Blizzard saying that, hey, you want to come work for the team that put out Diablo 1 and 2? And then there was a really pissed off old employee that apparently like leaked some artwork and shit. But nothing official from the game was announced until 2008. Upon announcement, it was said that the game would function somewhat as an MMORPG, and even single-player mode would require the internet. By the way, totally unheard of in 2008, and it really pissed me the fuck off when I heard that. It pissed me off in 2012 as well. And ever since then, though, there has been kind of I guess Blizzard paved the way for this. The idea of the empty disc that you buy when you buy a physical copy of a game.
Yeah.
Like, you get the game, you have to have the internet in order to play that game.
EA.
It's like, why the fuck did I buy this game like this? And I mean, there might be games before this, but I really do think that Diablo 3 was kind of the people who pushed this stupid fucking idea of like, let's make a single player game where it's on the disc. No, it's not on the disc, and you gotta have the internet. It's bullshit. Anyway, I'm pissed off still pissed off. The game was designed by Jay Wilson, who was a designer of the Warhammer games from another company, and Leonard Boyarsky, which was one of the original creators of Fallout. So they were kind of the big staff members on this game. And after beta testing in 2011, remember they announced it in 2008. After beta testing in 2011, the game would be released in May 15th, 2012, almost 11 years after they started
Wow.
developing the game. It would get good critical reception, although it was initially plagued with server errors, which I remember when my roommate Tom got this fucking game. And that's all he would do all day was play Diablo 3, and I would have to go to school and just kind of be like, I wish I had more than $30 extra a month after my rent was paid in order to play Diablo 3. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
It was just plagued with server errors. So like when you first got the game for like weeks, there'd just be this error that would pop up because the server was full. And there's nothing you can do.
I remember reading about those problems.
Yeah, Tom wasn't happy with it. Since then, Diablo 3 has received multiple updates, improvements, and even an expansion called Reaper of Souls in 2014, which we also played.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of a troubled development. I believe, at least I had heard this, and I didn't read this morning, but I believe that up to that point, Diablo 3 was the longest development time for any game.
I think Duke Nukem Forever might have been longer, but I'm not sure.
I don't think it had come out by that point, had it?
I don't know. They came out around the same time.
Okay. Well, I remember that being a thing where Diablo 3 came out and everybody was like, it's the longest thing ever. It's got the Guinness World Record or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely the longest one ever that anyone gave a fuck about. So
There you go. Maybe that's it. So yeah, really troubled development. None of the original like head guys from Diablo 1 or 2 were a part of this game, which I think is kind of sad. And there's definitely like a tonal difference, as well as gameplay and stuff like that. Like there's definitely a difference between the first two Diablos, which are pretty close to each other, besides the fact that Diablo 2 is just like a bigger version of Diablo 1.
Yeah.
And slightly smoother than Diablo 3, which of course had a brand new engine and just like it was reworked. I think they said they actually reworked the game 3 times. Like they threw away the old project and restarted 3 times for Diablo 3.
Duke Nukem Forever, by the way, released in 2011, and it was 15 years.
Oh, okay.
time.
So yeah,
Holy
it did
fuck.
beat it. Like
but
that.
that's still a long time for
years. We're getting close with Final Fantasy 15.
yeah, Diablo 3 is yeah.
Anyway, so I guess we should probably talk about the story, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay. So the game takes place in the same world as the Diablo series, about 20 years after the events of Diablo 2. So Deckard Cain and his adopted niece Leah, or is it Leia? Leia. Are in the Tristram Cathedral investigating ancient texts regarding an ominous prophecy when suddenly a mysterious meteor, or they call it a star, falls from the sky, strikes the cathedral, makes a deep crater in which Deckard Cain totally disappears. And then Nuborius, known as Nephilim sometimes in this game, arrives in New Tristram to investigate the fallen star. He rescues Cain upon Leah's request and discovers that the fallen object is actually a person. And this person has no memory except for that he lost his sword, which was shattered into 3 pieces.
Thankfully, we played the second game, so we knew who he was.
Yeah, so basically, like, the character has to get the pieces, but then the witch Magda, she seizes the shards and attempts to capture Cain to force him to repair the sword for her own ends. However, with an uncontrolled display of power, Leah forces Magna to flee, and she kidnaps the stranger instead. Cain, dying from Magna's tortures, oh, spoiler alert, uses the last of his strength to repair the sword and instructs the Nephilim to return it to the stranger. I'm gonna call it Niflheim because I've been playing I've been watching fucking Kingsglaive, which there's a town called Niflheim, and I'm realizing that's why I'm saying it wrong. So Nephilim rescues the stranger, returns his sword, causing him to regain his memory. The stranger then reveals himself as the fallen angel Tyrael. Disgusted with his fellow angels' unwillingness to protect humanity from the forces of hell, Tyrael casts aside his divinity to become immortal and warns Sanctuary about the arrival of the demon lords Belial and Asmodean, and then basically it becomes a really complex version of Diablo 2.
Yeah.
So from there, by the way, so we got Cain dies, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
From Diablo 1 and 2. He's kind of like your main man. And even now, there's the Book of Cain where you can identify your items, because really that's what you like Cain for. Because you're like,
Yeah.
identify these for me, please, so I don't have to waste a scroll. And then Leah kind of takes over his role in the story. She's the new Cain, the less interesting Cain, I would say.
Yeah.
But then there's some twists when it comes to Leah, and I think we should probably leave that out of it. But the twist is fucking crazy.
It is. I was not expecting that in the story. I was like, oh, well, it might be. Oh, wait, no, it's, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, this fallen star, Tyrael coming down. The minions of hell have been released back in Tristram, and you've got to save the day. Now, the story is way more complex than that. And the reason I say that is that unlike Diablo 1 and 2, where the idea was like, okay, there's this dude named Diablo and you gotta go kill him. That's the fucking story of Diablo 1 and 2. There's a new bad guy for almost every act, and you gotta go kill that new bad guy. And in order to kill that new bad guy, you have to do this, and then this, and then this. And there was some like similar structuring with Diablo 2.
It's exactly
but it is way less focused in Diablo 2 than it is in Diablo 3. With Diablo 3, almost every plot point is a huge plot point, no matter how small the quest is in regards to the huge game, that it feels different as you're playing the game. Like it's a much more plot heavy, plot driven game than either of the first two Diablos.
Well, in Diablo 2, you had still had the main enemy of each act.
You did. They didn't show up every 3 minutes to come and like do a thing,
to taunt
and
you.
then you had to do 12 million different things in order to get to that bad guy and kill him.
Yeah. Well, you say 12 million, but the game only took us like 10 hours to beat. Maybe,
Okay, you're right, but can you remember all the plot twists?
not necessarily.
Okay, neither can I. It's like, if you want to remember them, you can look at the wiki. But I remember being interested in it at the time. But I mean, really, it reminds me of what we've been playing recently. And I know this is actually pretty common with RPGs, just not the RPGs that I've played. It's very classic, like tabletop RPG quest heavy, where someone's like making up a quest as you go along and different things that you have to get to do different other things, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of fetch quests in this game. Fetch quests that'll usually lead to a mini boss of some sort that will get you, once you do that like 12 times, then you're to the final guy. And it's not a long process. It's just really like plot heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would like to discuss the twist, but if you've played Diablo 3, you know what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
When you see the twist. It's crazy.
If you haven't, you should.
Yeah. So Schweiss, obviously I have mixed feelings upon how they did the storytelling. What did you think of the story?
Well, I thought it was fine. It wasn't quite as engaging for me as Diablo 2's, and honestly, it was a lot of go to this place, find this, take on this boss, use this item for the boss.
But there'd be full-on dialogue sequences having to do with those things.
Yeah.
In Diablo 2, you might get like a line or two and then be on your way.
Yeah, and I kind of like that more. I like the way they handled the story in Diablo 2, even though it's very similar to Diablo 3, where you've got the primevals coming out, you've got this guy and this guy and this guy, and then Diablo.
Right.
Those are identical. But in 3, you've got a good point. They show up a lot. They're always like talking smack, telling you, "Oh, I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna beat you." Killing off Kane.
Oh, you have to go to town like 16 million times in between.
Yeah. There's a lot of going to town. I mean, there was a lot of going to town in Diablo 2 as well, but
It was
Diablo
more for,
2,
there was no story in town. You were just getting equipment, and occasionally you would rescue someone.
Yeah, well, or you just get your ass kicked in Diablo 2.
Yeah, that too.
And I didn't mind the act setup. I felt like it was for the most part was balanced. Some of the acts were really short. We would do some of them in one night, and the first act we took a couple nights.
Act 2 and 3, I felt like halfway through the act, I was like, "Isn't this act done? Like, aren't we done here?" And then there'd be some other twist.
Yeah, it seemed like it was going to be the ending, but then there was something else.
Yeah.
But once the ending got there, I was like, oh, okay, that wrapped up nicely. So I felt like the story, as far as that goes, was good. I liked the stuff with the angels and Tyrael. I liked the expansion a lot. I thought the expansion was great, and the stuff that happens in there with Tyrael and
The expansion is much more straightforward of a plot than this one, though. I would say.
Yeah.
The expansion is like, okay, this guy just took over or whatever, and now you have to go kill that guy.
Yeah.
And it's much more like that. And with Diablo 3's regular campaign, acts 1 through 4, it's much more convoluted. Much more. And it's not extremely like convoluted. Like, it's not like Final Fantasy 11 or anything like that. But it's still, I think it's bogged down in quests.
Yeah.
In between the story, which quests should be part of the gameplay aspect and not, to me, quests should be more part of the gameplay aspect and less about than the overarching story. They just seem to like clunk it up. I don't know how else to explain it.
What do you think, Craig? Since you played it.
I don't know.
You've played it multiple times, though.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, with I enjoy the way that they did it because it feels like even the little things you did throughout the game like mattered in every way. And like you said, with how you don't remember exactly how it happened, I think that even like adds a bit to like replayability. I mean, you go back and you're like, oh, I didn't remember that, or that was cool, and little things like that. It's just I don't know. I enjoy the way that it was set up. Like each act feeling like its own kind of has its own story that you can like go through, so it's like separated into like little sections. It's kind of like episodic that way, and it's really I really enjoy the way that it was done.
Okay, all right. So we got one guy who loves it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's terrible. And I think there are much more convoluted games out there in the Final Fantasy series. And there were also very cool moments in this, mostly with the CGI cutscenes in between acts. But even then, like, the big plot points, I think were really great.
Yeah.
In this game. And that's the stuff that reminded me more of Diablo 2. Because Diablo 2, all Diablo 2 cared about were big plot points. And especially Diablo 1. It only had one big plot point, basically.
Yeah.
And, but at the same time, I think it got bogged down with all the stuff in between that was treated with the same height of emotion in the storytelling and the same amount of time as like a huge plot point would have taken in Diablo 2. So I have problems with it structurally, but I guess overall, I have a positive view on the story.
All right. Well, what do you give the story out of 10 then?
I'm going to give the story a 6 out of 10.
All right.
I liked the simplicity of the first two games. They didn't have perfect stories either, and I wanted more emotion out of them. And I think Diablo 3 might have given me, or tried to give me, too much.
Okay.
Like, it just tried to give me too much plot and not enough of an emotional story experience. Once again, these games are based around gameplay anyway, so me knocking the story isn't the world's biggest thing.
Right. I'm going to give the story a 7. I feel like it did its job, and it did its job fairly well. There were times that it was extraneous to go and do these things, and I'm like, okay, it made it seem long. It's like bad pacing in some ways, and that's the storytelling because of the way they handled the fetch quests, making it seem like, hey, when you get this, you'll be done with the act. So I'm like, oh wow, I'm making pretty good time, which is, I know it's a dumb thing. It's like when you're watching a movie like Room and the movie ends 30 minutes in and then it's got another hour and 40 minutes and you're like, okay, well, the stuff I loved is gone, long gone, and now we're here, and it just gets frustrating after a while. It's like, okay, the pacing is bad. It's not the biggest problem in the world, but it does exist in this game, and it makes it feel like it's taking longer. And I enjoyed it, and I thought the story was, self-serving, and it fit well with the lore. There weren't any problems, I felt, as far as like the stuff from Diablo 1 or 2. And then moving on to 3, I thought all of that was nice and smooth, but there were times where the pacing felt a little off, and it wasn't quite as engaging and as gripping as Diablo 2's. So I'll knock it a bit on that.
Well, yeah, I think it's actually the reason it wasn't so gripping was because there was just too much.
Yeah.
It was just too much plot, too much lore, too much everything. And that stuff's great to get into in like a side quest sort of thing. I think that shit is awesome. Like in Diablo 2 or Diablo 1, you would find out more about the world or these demons because you took an exit or a little route or something, and then you're like, oh, this is cool. And they had that in Diablo 3.
Yeah, they did.
Top of 12 million plot points in between every act. And what I mean by that is, okay, let's say, my job at the end of Act 1 is to kill the Skeleton King. How am I going to do that? Well, it turns out you need to get this crown. In order to get this crown, you got to do this thing. In order to do this thing, you got to do that thing. That's the game. And so, fun gameplay-wise, by the way, because that kind of storytelling does lend itself to really good gameplay. But story-wise, if I'm going to judge it on story, I don't think that it did its job in that aspect. In an emotional player going through this game aspect. I didn't give a shit about the crown, and I had to listen to people talk about the crown on this thing's head for like 12 million years.
Well, it was Leoric, that douche from like the first game and stuff, so it's like, well,
yeah, but my job is just to kill him. In the other games, it would have been, you got to kill this guy, and you got to go find the thing to kill him, and there'd be 20 floors, and you just go, and then you go kill him.
Yeah, but that's like 20 floors of shit, and
That's
they just laid it out.
Fun.
They just laid it out, and you admitted that it was fun to go do that. The gameplay was fun.
Yeah,
but
the gameplay
like
is
the
good.
plot was to go grab that so you could kill the skeleton king.
I don't know.
That's a simple plot point.
Too much.
It's not too much in the plot point. It's get the thing to kill the skeleton king.
It was get the thing to get the
it.
thing to go to the thing to get the cane to get the thing to the material, and then the ba 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 ba. There were like 12 million plots going on.
No.
Yeah, dude.
It's a simple plot. You just have to do stuff for gameplay to get through it.
All right, what do
but
you
they
give
treat it like huge plot.
No,
the cutscenes are just as long for getting the fucking crown as they are for, oh, Cain just died. Just as long.
It was not just as long.
And that's why my eyes just glazed over sometimes while we're going through this game. I was like, okay, all right, this is...
What do you think about the story overall then, Craig?
I think it was good. The only parts that I do feel like it did drag on were the parts with like Magda and Zoltan Kuhl. Those two parts kind of felt really long, especially like the Zoltan Kuhl part. I feel like they could have just gotten the Soul Stone in a different way.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, and then the Magda stuff, like you guys kept talking about how like all the bosses keep popping up to Tanyu, and really it's only
just
her.
Yeah,
she's
every
the
5
only one that
seconds.
fucking does that, and she does it like 3 times.
No, the other scary looking guy also does it.
Not as often though, but yeah, he does do it.
What scary looking guy?
His head
fucking
just
remember.
pops up, and he's like, "Rah."
Yeah, shit, I cannot remember his name right now. He's the dude with the big head though, and he just all that shows up is his head. And you just see his face, and he's talking shit. He shows up.
I don't remember,
but
what
not
you're
as
talking
much
about.
as Magda. You're right. Magda's always
You
coming.
don't
in.
remember it because your eyes were glazing over while you were going through these 12 million plots.
No, I don't know who the floating head guy is. That's just it.
So
The whole point of this game is go kill, and it just distracts away
and then
from
you
that.
go and kill. That's it.
Go kill and then watch the awesome CGI cutscene in between the acts.
yeah, the best looking cutscenes in the fucking world, by the way.
Yeah, they do look pretty damn
they
good.
look pretty fucking good.
All right, Craig, what are you going to give it out of 10 though?
Out of 10, I'd give it like an 8.
All right.
You'd never played 1 or 2.
I played a little bit of the first one, but I never did beat it. It was like years ago,
Yeah, that's a tough game.
and I've never had a copy of it, except for that pirated one that I talked about before.
Okay.
So
So speaking of tough games, Oh, Schweiss, this game, how does it play in comparison to the first two Diablos? Like, what type of game is it?
Well, I mean, it's the same type, I would say. It's the same style. It is a lot, I feel like it's a lot faster paced in Diablo 3. Everything dies much quicker, even at higher difficulties. Now, when you do jack the difficulty up, you take a lot more damage, especially if you're playing the Demon Hunter class like me, and you have no life.
Squishy fuck.
Yes, I do an amazing amount of damage in this game, like just disgusting amounts of damage, but I can die very quickly if certain moves are done to me. Now, thankfully, I have a lot of life leech, which is where you take damage and convert it into health, and it's a lot of fun. But this game is a lot like Diablo 2 on steroids. Like, it's like instant. It's very quick. A lot of things die a lot faster, especially when you have a good party mechanic working with the people playing. So a lot of times it was me and Joe, and then other times we would have Caleb Craig in. Caleb was a monk most of the time. Then, you know, it's got good mechanics as far as the character differences go. I feel like that element of the gameplay was more different in this one, it felt, than in Diablo 2. Like, there was more variety as far as the classes go.
It felt like, to me, if Diablo 2 and League of Legends had a child, this would be the game.
So you're just killing minions already?
And now we played it on the PS4 version, so it was a lot less clicking and hotkeys, which is kind of how it is in Diablo 2.
Oh, yeah.
We played it on the PS4 version, so everything was kind of set to certain buttons, and you would just press a button, and then it would have its cooldown, and you'd be ready for the next thing. And it was very fluid in that way. By the way, I would recommend totally playing this game on the PS4, and I wish that the Diablo 2 had a PS4 version. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll ever happen, but it sounds really cool. Now, with that being said, it definitely has, like, it's almost steroidized the Diablo 2 gameplay. Diablo 2 is kind of tough. You only get one spell that you can pop up at a time, and you have to switch between those things. And there's kind of a time crunch with Diablo 2 because you will die quickly in Diablo 2 if you're not, ready for the fight. Diablo 3, it's very, it's very hotkey related, and it's very quick. And the moves that you do specific to your character race are awesome. There's usually like an AoE move and then like a super move, and you have the ability to, once you level up to a certain amount, you have the ability to assign different moves for your character and kind of customize it that way. And that's what I mean by it's like League of Legends almost. Like, you have your special moves on top of your regular moves. With Diablo 2, you had one special move that was kind of a pain to switch between, and then like your regular attack. So keep that. It's like a more complicated version, but yet at the same time a much easier version.
Yeah, and I would say, as far as the difficulty is concerned with this game, I feel like it's a lot easier than Diablo 2. And
you feel that way?
Now, when we get into the uber difficulties, what are they called again, Greg? The
Torments?
The Torments, that's impossible. So, I mean, the game is harder than Diablo 2, but not in the difficulties you can select from the beginning.
Right.
So
Diablo 2's normal, or if there even is, and I would have probably played it, if there is an easy difficulty in Diablo 2, it is harder than expert mode in Diablo 3.
Yeah, it's brutal, and it's not even just because we were playing together either. It's an easier game by far, which isn't a bad thing, but it does. It does make it feel, like you said, it's like Diablo 2 on steroids, where your guy is way more...
Your guy is on steroids. They're not.
No, they're not. They're clean. They're clean. And, I liked that element of it. I also liked the bringing back the socketing jewels. That's something awesome from Diablo 2. You get all of that back again. You go to the jeweler. You actually do these little, kind of almost like little mini quests where you get them to, you train them up so they can do better things for you. And I thought that was really cool in this game, where there's like sub-leveling that you can do with the armorer and the jeweler. And they brought back the idea of hiring mercenaries, sort of. I don't know if you paid for them in 3. I can't remember.
You don't. They just join you.
Yeah, but they brought that element back, which I thought was something really cool in 2, even though I just let the stupid fuck that was with me die all the time because they were useless. Your people were not useless, though. You actually kept on it and kept getting new people, and they were very powerful for you. It's just a different experience there. But in 3, I didn't really need to use them. It was odd. Like I never really. There was a trophy for getting them, and I was like, okay, I'll get the trophy, but I'm not going to use these guys. I don't need them. I'm powerful enough to deal with this game as is. There are times where I died, and I died more than everybody else. A lot of times when you kill super bosses, they'll explode. Anytime that happened, I was dead. If I was not out of the zone, I would just die instantly. There's no saving me. My health was just not enough for the base damage for the self-destruct bullshit. And there's times where I'm like frozen and I'm like, no, fuck. And then I get out and then it blows up and like I'm like, fuck, man, I would have lived if I wouldn't have escaped or, you know, whatever else. And so stuff like that's really cool. I like the way you can see the AoE stuff in this one. I don't remember if you can in 2 or not. I don't think you can, though. No. I think it's just they do the move, and wherever it happens to be, you get hit. I mean, you can see the acid on the ground and stuff like that, but in 3, it felt more MMO-like, where you see, oh, hey, this guy's going to blow. I need to get out of the circle, as opposed to, okay, I need to memorize exactly where I need to go. And I thought that was an interesting element of the game, and it was another move to making it easier to play, I feel. And
I think Diablo 2 and Diablo 1 were much more challenge games. So, I mean, this is a different team making this game, and it's almost like a different mental outset.
Yeah, it feels off when you're playing 3. It felt off. Not that it's bad, not in a bad way.
From 2. So I want to try to just judge 3 on its own. But,
yeah.
This is a game that's not challenge based. It can be. You can build up to it, but on your initial run through this game, your difficulty of expert, once again, pretty fucking easy in comparison to the other games. Now, probably a normal difficulty level for most games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is a game that's based purely around fun.
Yes.
You can play, when we did this entirely, you can play online with other people at any level, and whoever just has the highest set level, I think, is whoever you go with. If you've unlocked the difficulty level.
Yeah.
And then the leveling up is pretty fast. The equipment drops are even better in expert mode, which is great.
Oh, yeah, which is awesome.
So you're not like dying for equipment like you are in the other Diablos. It's more of like hey, I got equipment, it's awesome, let's do this thing, and then let's do this other thing, and let's go down. Oh, there's a door here, let's go through the door, and there's a small little dungeon you can go through. And these,
even though the game was easy, there was never a point where we passed a dungeon up that we didn't do. Even in the expansion, Joe and I did every single dungeon we came across. Because it's fun.
Nice.
It's not because we feel like we need to be completionists, because I know Joe didn't do everything.
Or we feel like we need to level up.
Yeah, like I know
like
I'm
in
leveling
Diablo
up.
2, it was like, I don't want to get fucked. I'm going to have to go into every single dungeon.
Right, and I feel like, did you skip any in too?
I think there were a couple in chapter 2 or 3 that I skipped.
I didn't skip anything.
Okay.
And it's because of that very reason. It's because I know, okay, this game is fucking
Well, with Diablo
brutal.
1, it was like, it's brutal if you don't touch every single bit of every single floor.
Yeah.
And so I took that same mental I took that same idea and I put it with Diablo 2. I have to do everything. In Diablo 3, it's not I have to do everything because you're leveling up so fucking fast. It's like, let's see what's in here.
Yeah. And it's satisfying to go in and just lay waste to the, to see your enemies driven before you.
So there's a challenge aspect to Diablo 2 that's totally missing from this game with the initial play.
Right.
But at the same time, there's a fun aspect, a multiplayer aspect, a kind of like, ooh, I get to press the button and it makes a little bloop noise aspect, just metaphorically. And that is an exciting thing that Diablo 3 has that the other two didn't.
Right. And I feel like the post-game content doing the, what are those things called?
The Nephilim Rifts?
No, the little quest studio where you go
bounties?
back. Yeah, the bounties. You basically go back and fight the bosses again.
Yeah.
And those are fun. I know exactly where I need to go, so if I want to grind out the 500 bounties trophy, I know exactly where the Skeleton King is, and I will fuck him up every time. And I think it's fun going back through and getting new enemies, and it's a great way to level your character up. Now, leveling up in this game is way more frequent than Diablo 2. I think I was like level 25 in Diablo 2 when I ended, maybe 27-ish after the end of the expansion. 27. I am level 70 something in this fucking game right now. I am sick, right? This game, the leveling scale is way higher. And it was funny because while I was playing Diablo 2, my girlfriend was actually going through Diablo 3. And she's like, oh man, I was kind of disappointed because she's trying to get the level 70 trophy. She's like, I only got like 5 levels last night. And I was like, my God, 5 levels? I'm like, fuck, dude, I got 1. And I played for 6 hours. I played for 6 hours and got like level 25 to level 26. I was like, yes! God, I'm so good now. And then she's like 67. From 62 to 67 in like 2 hours, and that's not fast enough. So it's a different feel there, but it's not in the way that it's super overpowered. Like if we were scaling like that in Diablo 2, we would just be destroying everything by the end. And it's for the most part in D2, it's exactly how I like it, where it's easy at normal enemies, tough bosses. And Diablo 3 sort of carries that along with it. Except the bosses are also pretty easy. Yeah, they're just tanky. Yeah.
And occasionally they do more damage.
And sometimes they'll have moves that will wreck if you get hit by it directly multiple times. I would say the guy at the end of the expansion.
I think I died 4 times total.
Really?
Yeah.
I probably died like 10, maybe
But
12.
even in this game, unlike in Diablo 2, where like your dead body's there and it's like, hey, fuck you, you're going to have to go get your dead body and loot it.
Yeah.
Diablo 3 is like, do you want to just restart? It's okay. If you just want to restart right here, that's fine.
Yeah, you can restart
you can do
there.
That. Just press the triangle button. It's cool.
Or restart in town. I mean, you can go back to town and check your equipment and be like, all right, I'm not ready for this fight. I have stuff that's better. I can get rid of all the old stuff, throw on the new equipment, then go back to the fight, teleport to your, use your friend's banner to teleport to them, and then continue battling. And I like that aspect of it, and it is an insanely fun game to play.
It is.
It's different, but it's great, and it's something that...
And the multiplayer aspect is even better. I mean, I've played multiplayer on Diablo 2. Does not get easier.
No.
It does not.
And it does get tougher, quote unquote, in this game, so it's easier when you're playing by yourself. The enemies are easier. But
at the same time, you're both doing super damage. So
it's like, well, I'm doing 1 billion, and Joe's doing like 750 million. So when I leave, I'm doing like 1.5 billion now, and it's like the same game. So it's great in that way. It's like flawless as far as the online interaction goes. So like Joe drops the party, I can keep going if I want. And the game just gets easier. It's like, oh, a party member has left. Everybody sucks now, and
the world just feels different.
Yeah, something like that. He says, I can't remember exactly, but I did love the gameplay. I liked the variety in the characters. I am playing a warrior in a campaign I'm running through with a girlfriend, and I like some of his moves. It's very different than the Demon Hunter. It's slower paced, but it's obviously more of a tank role, and I like the variety there, and that variety lends itself to our final category, which is final actually, replayability, and I feel like that is very gameplay oriented, and I loved it. I enjoyed every moment of playing Diablo 3. I don't think I ever had a second where I was like hating it. I was pissed sometimes at getting like fucked royally, but I don't know, it was a lot of fun.
It was fun. It takes a lot from Diablo 2, but I do have to say it is a different game. There is something in the gameplay mechanics more than just the obvious things that it's just different. I do like there are more aspects with like how your character can continue in the game past Act 4, and just like you can level up these guys in town that are crafting things for you, so there's like a more MMO aspect to that crafting stuff.
Yeah,
and you can just get better and better.
And you made some great stuff from the blacksmith, right?
At the beginning, yeah, but after a while, the stuff I was finding was better. But I would still recycle the stuff I wasn't using.
Yeah,
and just had him like keep building up his skill. And I'm sure at some point he gets you pretty good stuff. I assume. I would hope it's worth it at some point, right, Caleb?
It's level 70 stuff. Okay. You can have him make like legendaries and
okay.
Stuff like
so
that.
Yeah, he's probably worth leveling up.
Yeah,
in some way,
definitely.
So. God, yeah. Yeah, it was a fun game. It was different than the previous 2 Diablo games, definitely. But it's a fun game. And I'm going to go ahead and give the gameplay. I'm not going to try to compare it to 2. I'm going to give the gameplay a 10 out of 10. There was not a point in this game where I was not having fun except during some cutscenes. And that's not the gameplay fault. It's the story writer.
All right, I'm going to echo that. I feel like every second of it was a blast, and I am going to play this game again because it's fun. And because there are trophies to be had. And I want to explore the interesting gameplay elements. I want to play as the witch doctor. I want to play as the warrior all the way through, see his skill tree advance. I want to play all of these classes, not only to get the trophy for everyone at level 70, but because I'm interested in
Still
seeing
fucking need
it.
that one.
Yeah. So what about you, Craig? What's your thought on the gameplay?
I would also echo the 10 out of 10.
Go.
I enjoy that game
10 out
a
of
lot.
10.
And you know, there's just a shit ton of stuff to do in the game beyond like beating it with like the expansion and then doing like Nephilim rifts and doing the bounties and just like trying to get a really high Paragon level, trying to see how high, like what difficulty you can reach in the Nephilim rifts. Yeah, exactly. Trying to get really high.
Yeah.
And they get really fucking difficult in the higher levels. And it's all really fun trying to get like new equipment, getting the like you can get the same weapon, just like the legendary drop, just better than the one you had before. So trying to collect all those, getting all the little transmogs, getting like every little piece of thing that you can get, like each little crafting item or whatever. It's really fun trying to gather all those things because like they can add special stuff to your character, and all the little just I can't say that word. Intricacies. Yes, that word. Of like doing the powers, how like, you know, you get one power for each little button slot, but then there's like 5 different ones you can choose from there to go into that slot, and then 5 different runes for each power that like modify it in a certain way, so you can really customize it to the way that you want to play, and that's really fucking cool.
There's some great customizational builds in this game. Like I've got my guy, since I got tired of dying, so nobody else was dying, and I basically have evasion and lifesteal stuff, and that's my mega build. So my X move, I have the backflip thing, so whenever somebody's swinging at me, I'll just normal attack from close range, and I'll just backflip out of the way. I've got life leech on one, and then I turn that on, and then I just fucking pull out the R2 move that's just this machine gun thing where I'm just launching bullets at him like fucking crazy. These bolts just flying out, and my health just jumps up, and I'm full health again in like half a second. That is another really cool aspect to it.
Yeah, I also like that they added a PvP element to the game where you can just like go talk to this guy and then you just fight each other if you want.
Yeah, I never did that. You did threaten me.
That might be kind of fun.
Yeah, he's it's just a dude in the towns. Just go talk to him, and you go into a PvP area and just fight each other.
That's awesome. All right, well, all of us gave gameplay 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
I think it's deserving of it. Design. So, what did you think of the look of the game?
I thought it looked great. It looks high quality. The cutscenes are probably the best looking cutscenes I've ever seen. They look phenomenal. It's incredible, and this game's been out for a few years. Yeah. I mean, the PS4 port, obviously, a little bit higher quality, but
I don't think that changes the pre-rendered
It wouldn't change the pre-rendered, no. The in-game stuff, also fantastic. There's gibbing, you know, the characters explode, bleed everywhere, bodies launch. There's more animation detail in it. Instead of just looting the body, clicking on it, gold items fly out of their ass. They actually, like, move around a little bit, like you kind of shuffled them up. And we're searching them for items. I love the way.
So it's very interactive, or the maps have certain pieces of them and characters. They react to your character.
Yeah.
You had that a little bit with Diablo 2 and Diablo 1, but not to the extent of this.
No, you can destroy almost everything around you and get this little speed boost, which is odd, but you can roll through a table, which is insane. That seems like a bad plan. Like a full mahogany $2,000 table, you just roll and just fucking shatter it, you know. Your dude is a tank. Any dude is a tank in this game. And it's just really interactive in that way. And that's something that, it's a good point. Diablo 1 and 2, not so much. There's certain things you can click on that are quest related, and bookshelves and little tomes and whatnot. But in this one, there's a lot of interactive things. And
And like the traps that are all around.
yeah, traps. That's another fun thing to do. If you got a big horde coming after you, you find something that's like holding back a bunch of logs, and you shoot it, and it just rolls the logs, and it does a shitload of damage to them, and things along those lines. But I think the animation of the game, I think everything was pretty decent. I never really noticed any odd glitches or non-normal looking movements from any characters. So I can definitely tell that they put a lot of time into the models and the joints and the movement there. And
it definitely doesn't look like a super modern game, except for the cutscenes are sick. But you know, you don't expect that with the Diablo series anyway. Like,
yeah,
the Diablo 2. I mean, we had fully rendered 3D by that time, and it was still kind of its 2D 3D-esque thing going on. And with Diablo 3, it's like, no, this is for the game, and the everything here needs to serve the gameplay.
Yeah.
And we still need to keep the overhead view because that's just what the series is, and if you go away from that, it's going to suck. But you know, that's and everything's there to serve that.
Yeah.
So I do think that the look of the game does a serviceable job. I thought there were some areas that looked really good, especially near the end of the game.
Yeah, that final area for the expansion was awesome as fuck.
That was pretty cool. So with 2D environments like that, they do have the opportunity to make the environments really pop. I don't think the character models, I mean, they're nothing to write home about. I mean, it's not the greatest graphical achievement ever, but it does its job.
Yeah, it has its own style though. It's not trying to be hyper realistic.
Yeah,
really.
no,
it's almost like a weird animated style that's really good looking, but you can tell they're not trying to be like,
it's like a Western cartoon.
Yeah. They're not trying to make it look like Grand Theft Auto 5, where it's just real. You know, and I feel like that fit very well. And I thought the environments, for the most part, although recycled from Diablo 2, looked great. You know, the swamp area, the desert area.
Creatures looked awesome in this game.
Yeah, the creatures were crazy looking. They were very detailed, I would say. They're interesting to look at, interesting to slaughter, you know. The death animations were pretty good. If you really rocked somebody, their body would just like fly off and ragdoll, which is always satisfying. I could never get tired of ragdoll. And
what do you think of the artwork?
I really enjoy the artwork myself. Like the whole design, it fits together. Like all the demons, the weird monsters, like the fucking zombies and skeletons and everything. Like they fit into the area that they happen to be in. Like the fucking jungly areas, you got like the goat people,
Jesus,
fucking shit like that, and it's like really, really interesting the way that like they kind of made it so like each area has its own set of enemies, and you don't really see a repeat of like other enemies, just like slightly better looking. Or whatever.
That's something this game does pretty well for the most part. Is just that. I mean, Diablo 1, it was the same enemies for the most part. They just look different. Like, hey, this one's black. This one's shiny yellow. And it's like, oh, the shiny yellow ones are way worse, but they're the same model. So there's that. Yeah, with 3, it was more, it felt more natural, I guess, as far as the designs of the enemies. And what about the atmosphere of the design? Like, did you feel like it lent itself well? Because I feel like it did.
I think it served its purpose as far as like kind of the darker tone of these games. I mean, we're dealing with things like hell and stuff like that. I do think, if I'm going to compare, I do think that Diablo 1 and 2 did that better. I think they were better as far as mood,
atmosphere,
and
yeah.
atmosphere and like color palette for what they're doing. I think it was a little better in those games as far as that is concerned. But this one did just fine in that aspect. Nothing detracting, but if I'm going to compare them, I think it's not as good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think it looked great.
Yeah.
But
I will give it 1 detractor for design, visual design. And this was that in some cutscenes, whoever fucking framed the shots for some of these cutscenes, where like someone would be looking over the bridge or whatever. I can't remember what the building is, but then and then your character was below, and it would just be these awful camera angles on these things, and it just during these dramatic parts of the game, and I was just like, who the fuck? Whose job was it to place the camera? Because that was the worst. Like whoever did that, I don't even know how to explain it without like showing someone what the fuck I'm talking about, but it was not good.
yeah, bad framing.
Bad framing of certain cutscenes,
Yeah.
not the CG ones, but
Well,
the
no.
in-game cutscenes. I thought there was just bad direction, visual direction in those parts. So
Surprised you didn't go off on Final Fantasy 13 for that.
I did.
About the direction, really?
Yeah,
I remember.
they turn around halfway through the middle of a cutscene. The piano starts playing.
Well, that's different. That's
the blocking and the camera placement on
Okay,
those. That's
all
what
right.
that is.
All
That was
right.
me complaining about the directing and writing of Final Fantasy 13. But yeah, with this one, it was like a flat, boring, just kind of framed weird in the corner, kind of bad angles.
All right.
It's like, I know you only have the overhead thing, but just frame her well. Like, you don't have to... You don't have to do whatever you were doing. It just looks terrible. Yeah, that's all I got for design. I give it a 9 out of 10
Okay.
because there was just a couple cutscenes that really fucking pissed me off.
I'm going to go ahead and give it a 10. I didn't have any problems with the design. I felt like it fit. I do agree that Diablo 2's mood was probably a little better, but I feel like the ending to this game and Diablo with tits, phenomenal.
Oh yeah, that's
What else can
a
I
good
say?
point. Yeah,
Diablo looked a little odd, but still intimidating to me. Kind of oddly
There's
gangly
the
and
reason
skinny.
that he looks that way.
I know, and I accept that. And I accept that, and it was crazy, but
No, it's still a he. It's just he with tits.
What do you give he with it tits out of 10?
I give he with tits a 10 out of 10.
10
all
out of
right.
10. All right.
Caleb's a 10.
Yeah, I love those moves on Diablo.
Okay, sound and music. So real quick about sound, they did take some sounds from the other games, so you did feel like you were still part of Diablo universe, you know. And there was a lot more voice acting in this game than was in the previous games, and I think with the exception of one person who had really fucking flat delivery.
Oh yeah, the person that was freaking Padme from
Yes.
Star Wars, dude.
Oh yeah,
But she
the
was like
Emperor.
the not Padme, but the
Queen Amidala.
Queen Amidala. Yes, that's the line delivery. And she looked like her too. That character was annoying.
It's a little boy. It's the Emperor.
Oh, is it a boy?
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't tell you had a high pitched voice.
How could I tell? What?
Yeah, that was a really lame voice actor, and they should never work again.
There were some really good voice actors on top
No,
of that
yeah,
as well.
there were some great ones.
There was a guy whose voice I was like, I fucking know that voice, and I had to look up the guy online. I was like, I did know that voice.
Oh yeah, the Chinese guy.
Yeah, the Chinese
Covetous
guy.
Shen.
yeah,
Yeah, he's awesome.
And I was like, I know that voice, and he was in some movies
Mulan.
I've seen.
He was
it was
in,
Mulan. That's
Mulan
right.
and
Yeah,
Kung Fu Panda.
Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah,
That's
he
right.
was great. He was actually really good. And I was thinking that, and then Joe was like, "Wow, this guy's like an amazing voice actor." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." It's a weird thing to while you're playing a game to just sit back and be like, "Wow, this is well done right here." Because normally it's like
This is
either
not well done.
yeah, it's either shit or it's like just passable. And that guy was pretty legit. Yeah, and yeah, and as far as the sound goes, I felt like most of it, except for that one Queen Amidala on the voice acting, was great.
So I give the sound a 4 out of 5 because of that really flat performance.
Yeah.
And it was enough to take me out of the game. So I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 there. Now music. Well, real quick, what did you think about sound? Sorry, I didn't ask you.
Sound basically the same.
Okay.
Only the voice acting of the Emperor kid was like weird to me in any way.
Okay.
What did you think about the music?
I didn't really have any problems with it. Why? You have problems with it?
No, I'm asking you.
It's because
first,
we're
that's all.
reviewing the game is why.
Well, I didn't have any problems with it.
This fucking guy.
Well, yeah, I want to know because he like has he had a weird look on his face when he was asking me
That's just
about
the way he looks.
about the music. Anyway, yeah, I feel like the music was pretty good. It had it captured kind of like each zone that people went in. Like each dungeon kind of had its own kind of weird sound and feel. So I really enjoyed both aspects of sound.
All right. I also am in a dock for that shitty voice acting, and the music in this game was good where it was. Now, there was something that we both noticed while we were playing. There's a lot of areas that don't really have much music in it, which is weird for Diablo because there's always something going on in the background. Like when you get deeper into Diablo 1 and it starts getting that like sweet drum beat going on in the background, it's like it's like the whole time, and it's epic, and it's like foreboding and dark and deep and like bassy, and it's good. And in this one, there were many dungeons where there was like no music almost.
This sounds like temp music. I'm gonna go ahead and say, and I don't think this music is special in any way in this, so I'm not gonna give it a 10 out of 10. I'm sorry, but this music I think is very MMO-y, and it's placed like an MMO. So in other words, you're not supposed to notice it. It just occasionally there's music, and it's really like bland fantasy game music. It's really kind of middle ground. It doesn't do anything bad, but it doesn't really like make the game any better. I don't know.
I would disagree with one track. I think
there was one track that you were really impressed with. I know that you have a track that you really liked, but
there's that one, and then there's the Tristram theme that they've redone in 1, 2, and 3 now, where it's like the like open chord thing.
Yeah,
that one was cool, and I like that they keep returning to that, even though this one wasn't as interesting as the other one.
It's also really low in the mix.
Yeah, it's like quiet. You can barely hear it when you're in town.
So it's almost like we're not supposed to notice the music.
Yeah, which is
stupid.
It's odd for the series, honestly. It's
people who think you're not supposed to notice. That's like the new thing now. And in fact, I saw a video on YouTube about the Marvel movies, and the every frame of painting guy was going around like, "Can you hum the Harry Potter theme?" And they all hummed the Harry Potter theme. He's like, "Can you hum James Bond?" They all hum James Bond. And he's like, "Can you hum Star Wars?" They all hum Star Wars. He's like, "Can you hum anything from a Marvel movie?" And everybody was like, they couldn't. They just couldn't think of anything.
Yeah.
And it's like the style now, with the exception of like some Hans Zimmer stuff, the style now seems to be, the soundtrack needs to not be noticeable. It's the same with games though now. It's like the soundtrack needs to not be noticeable. And it's like, who said that? What? Like who decided that was the thing?
Yeah,
I don't mind that. I don't mind the sound being like taking a background to like
when
interesting
sound
things
adds.
but there are times when sound does add, like when we were watching Dark Knight Rises in the IMAX, and they had like the sound, like the music going along, and then like certain parts of it were like when Batman and Bane were like hitting each other, like the music and the sound together were just like making it more impactful, and you could like feel the punches.
Yeah, you notice the music, but you're still invested in the story.
Yeah.
And I would say the same thing with the games. Like, I don't think there's some classic games like Zelda or fucking Mario. Like, it wouldn't be the same without the soundtrack, right? It wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, but then
and with Diablo 1 and 2, it wouldn't be the same without the soundtrack. And Diablo 3 is really fucking middle ground.
Well, you gotta like some
not
soundtracks.
Comparing, it's totally forgettable.
Yeah, but it's the reason that I would say that like not having a strong soundtrack for the purpose of being like background
does not have a 5 out of 5 soundtrack.
I know. I'm just saying that the reason for that would be to avoid something like Final Fantasy VIII. And several tracks being complete detractions, too much, and it's always there, it's always playing, and it's very noticeable.
That's true. And Nobuo Uematsu is in your face about it.
Yeah, and that's something that people would want to avoid with the soundtrack. I mean, now you can get like really amazing soundtracks that like add to the game and stuff like that, but like if they couldn't really find one and they kind of were going for an MMO-y kind of feel.
They restarted the game 3 times and they didn't like a soundtrack.
They were going for an MMO-y feel, and they felt like the MMO soundtrack was what they kind of wanted for it.
feel. Let's make the soundtrack as forgettable as possible.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I know that's what the thing is that they're doing. I don't personally enjoy it. I would like to be able to notice that there's
Yeah,
music.
I mean, going along with what you said earlier, like,
I like music. I fucking like
we can
music.
duplicate the Tristram theme from Diablo 1.
It's very moody, and it's like it adds to the game in a way, and it's
Yeah.
almost like I know I'm in this
Admittedly,
game
we
because
did-
that sound came up.
We did go back to Tristram a billion times, and that is the theme of that
I would
area.
remember it
Well,
anyway.
Also,
Probably would, yeah. It's just
one of the main guys for sound left to go do Torchlight.
exactly. So maybe that's why. Well, that's why
That's why it doesn't
attractive.
follow the same kind of thing.
Well, I don't know if the composer.
It's one of the reasons, anyway.
he might have.
I think he did.
Probably.
I think
did.
one of those
Yeah.
guys.
Music isn't even near.
I think one of the guys in there was the composer.
All right.
Okay.
Well, what are you going to give sound
If
and
anybody
music,
wants
Joe?
to correct us, let us know. I give so I'm saying sound is 4 out of 5, music is 3 out of 5. I'm giving it a 7.
All right.
I think the music was perfectly mediocre, middle ground. I wish there was more of it because it would have added to the game. But and I'm not. That's not even comparing it to the original Diablo.
Yeah, that's just straight up. I
That's
can't
just
think of
straight up.
I
It's 3
can't
out
really
of-
think
it's
of
like kind of eh. Like I remember we were in Act 4 and someone said, it might have been you, Caleb. Someone was like, I can't even remember a single thing from this game. Like I can't remember a single tune.
Yeah, I can't right now. And I remember themes from 1 and 2
Yeah.
in my mind. It's weird. Like it's another one of those things that you almost can't explain how it's different than the others, but it is. And this way we can't
Okay,
explain.
I only played I played Far Cry Primal once, right? One time through. I can still remember the music that plays during the one boss fight. That was really cool.
yeah.
The karate one.
Yeah.
That's fucking amazing
Yeah.
is what that was.
So
I enjoyed that song a lot.
So when I was like, good music can add to a game, and you don't necessarily have to return to the spot over and over again for it to affect
Yeah.
you. This game, it just kind of like, well, let's put our generic fantasy music track and underneath.
Well, I don't mind it for like most areas because like when you're just walking around, you don't want something to be like overly powerful, like with Final Fantasy VIII. Like I mentioned the really annoying fucking town thing. But anyway, like the way that music usually adds to the game is when it's like at really like exciting moments. Like we were talking about how the karate theme came on during like a huge boss fight, like one of the ending boss fights.
yeah, and I'm probably not
Like-
the only one that wanted to just go put on a loincloth and go live in the wilderness
Yeah,
after
like
that.
it's just fucking. It was really awesome, and that is a point
the loincloth is really the thing that sells it.
Yeah.
where music enhances the game, but like it doesn't really do that anywhere else, except for at those like really huge moments where they put those huge themes in there for that. Because otherwise, it's just a really awesome soundtrack for like no reason.
I would rather have a really awesome soundtrack for no reason than have a really mediocre soundtrack for reasons.
I wouldn't though, because if you have a really awesome soundtrack and then you have a really awesome soundtrack in a boss thing, then it's like, oh well, it's just the same as the other one.
Bullshit.
I don't know.
Bullshit.
I didn't feel that way at all playing FF7.
We played okay, so me and Caleb at least really fucking loved the music from the last Doom game.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
And it would play the same thing every time you got into certain fights with certain things. It would play a certain track.
Yeah.
Does it mean that the other ones aren't awesome too? They're all fucking awesome.
They're all like adrenaline boosting things, but like when you're playing an RPG and you're just grinding out shit, like what's the point of having amazing
I can
song?
remember the music from Fable, Caleb. I can remember the music from most of the. I remember music pretty well. Like that's like the one fucking thing I can remember is audio, and it's like I can't fucking remember a thing from this game. I'm sorry, it's mediocre.
I don't have the same
Sound was mostly
memory
good.
for sound and music that you do. So when something is stronger, I tend to remember it. But if it's all the same level, then I don't remember it because there's nothing that stands out.
I think it's, I don't know.
And I feel like there are more people that are like that than people that remember every
and that's
song.
why pop is so big.
Perfectly mediocre.
It's because like it's the catchy tunes that you remember and not
It's
necessarily
something
the
in
same.
the background
Yeah,
that you listen to not have silence.
yeah.
That's where we differ. I like to have big shit in the background.
I like to hear the music if it's good music. Like if
Yeah.
it's bad, like
Well, I'm not saying I dislike the music.
No,
I just
no.
like it to be stronger at the stronger parts.
No, you're right. You're talking about like
But it's not even that,
utilizing it. It's not even that. There's nothing memorable about Diablo 3.
I'm aware. I'm just saying.
All right, what are you going to give this sound and music?
Not even
Greg?
not even the main menu. Like I can't even like think about the music from the main menu. If there is music at all, I have no idea.
It's pretty blaring, but I don't remember exactly the
It's
tune.
pretty bland. Is really the word you were looking for.
It's
yeah.
loud.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
remember
Like
that.
it could be a totally good composer, and then whoever was in charge of the game was like, we don't want the music to be distracting. One of those douchebags who think that that's a good opinion. And then the music composer was like, fine, I'll just make something really bland and fantasy, and it'll sound like whatever. Dude, I've never played Skyrim. I totally know the Skyrim theme.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good stuff.
It is good stuff, you're right. And it enhances the game because you have some emotional connection via the music. And you get none of that with this game. I like this game a lot, as you can see with my scores.
Yeah.
That was just one area that I think it was just totally middle ground bland.
And I kind of agree with you. As much as I enjoyed like the voice acting and I thought the music was okay, it is not the best.
What are you going to score it then?
Also 7.
Look at that. He was defending it and gave it the same score.
I'm gonna
I was
give it an 8.
defending the reasoning behind
okay.
not using like.
I'm gonna
All
give
right,
it an
that's
8
fair.
because there was never a moment where I didn't like it, and there were just moments where it needed to be stronger. So it wasn't a huge deal for
It's
me,
basically.
but it wasn't something that.
Taste-wise, it just left me wanting. That's
Yeah, I would agree. It left me wanting, so I docked it a couple points for that. All right, now for the biggie. What makes or breaks a game many a times as that fucking destroy all humans back then.
So,
Replayability.
Both just looking at me.
Yeah.
I'm going to just go ahead and start it off.
Well,
Master of replayability.
I'll start it out by saying it's a perfect 10 on replayability. You play through the game and then you unlock a lot higher difficulties, making it so you can play it again. There's a hardcore mode, which makes it so if you die, that is fucking it for your character, which I do have a hardcore playthrough. I'm like halfway through it. It's fucking hard because it's fucking scary as shit.
You should just have other people play with you that aren't like, and they'll get ahead of you.
I want to do
kill
that.
some guys.
I want to do that
and then
so
you come
much,
behind
but
them
you
and-
can't play with people that aren't playing hardcore characters.
Well, I'm saying you just like you trade off each time, just like
Yeah, it's like
who
playing.
goes ahead into the fray, and then it's like, okay, I'm the one who has to survive this game.
Yeah, it's like playing golf with like best shot rules. Everyone takes a swing and they just take whatever one's the best, and then you work on that. But you all just take turns. I go up, I kill. All right, your turn. You go up, everyone hits. We all go.
Or can't you guys just be OP or something, like leveling up like crazy? And
I am trying to level them
okay.
up like crazy because that is the only way that I feel I will survive.
Hey,
Yeah,
you will survive.
we will survive. All right, and then there's also like when you beat the game, it opens up like a lot of like end game stuff where you can go to do like the bounties that Caleb and I were talking about earlier, and the Nephilim rifts, which are basically just like portals where you kill a bunch of shit, then you fight a big powerful boss. And like with that, you just try to get higher and higher difficulties, trying to get better equipment to run through those because they get fucking difficult.
Is that how you're able to play it on those super hard modes? Is by
Yeah.
leveling up your Paragon and stuff?
Oh yeah. I'm like Paragon almost 300.
Because Joe and I tried
So-
on the... Fuck, what are they called again?
The Nephilim rifts
No,
or the
the
bounties?
higher difficulties.
The torments?
Torment
The
6.
Disgustos.
2 shots and dead.
Yeah.
there's no avoiding it either. There's no way I can get out of the way.
You must have to have super equipment.
Yeah.
You do. You have to have insane equipment. I barely have been getting that because I've been playing with some forum members that have helped me get higher and higher levels and better stuff. So it's like it's amazing at those levels, and he just fucking plows through the shit, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I guess I'll be support for you.
Well, you plow through the shit.
Yeah.
Just
I
fucking.
like that. I like that term, plowing through the shit.
Yeah, he's a demon hunter like Kaleb, but instead of using the machine gun, it's like fucking fuck ton of rockets.
Yeah.
So
Fuck ton of rockets. That's
yeah,
good. That's good
it is
shit.
good. Yeah,
It's good. Plowing through the shit with a fucking fuck ton of rockets.
Yep,
It's beautiful.
it is.
Hey, is that your mom? No. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and give replayability a 10 as well, because you know what happened at the end of Act 4?
What?
It's time to continue.
Yeah, there was no question of, should we do the expansion? It's like, hey, when are you going to get on for the expansion?
And you know what? I was like, at the beginning of the game, I was like, I don't know. I'll just beat the game. I don't know if I'll do the expansion, because that's Joe Core. Or Diablo Core, or whatever they're coming up with now.
Whatever the kids are saying these days.
Whatever the kids say
Joe
these
Core.
days. The 6 people on Twitter that care. So, yeah, Diablo Core is just to do the bare minimum to do the review. And I did more than that. I went I think I'm on level 69. And I did a whole expansion. And I am excited to play this game more. I fucking enjoyed my experience, especially the multiplayer experience of this game. There's obviously plenty to do, and there's plenty of other difficulties to try out. I think that, like, I don't know. Honestly, in my mind, I'm like, maybe not play a shooter. Maybe just play some Diablo 3, like over the team chat, and that could be
it would be fun.
Sunday night or something like
You
that.
know,
That'd be fun.
PvP and then running through rifts, doing bounties,
Yeah.
like all that stuff would be immensely fun. It's that gameplay, it like calls back to you. You're
Yeah.
like, I want to play more of that fucking shit right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can skip through the stuff that you don't like as much, the story, the sound and music. I mean, you don't
I
have
can't
to
skip that. but
Well, you can have other stuff going on.
that's true.
And so I think that lends my score of 10 out of 10 as well. It lends to all of that. I think it's a game that I am wanting to play again. I beat it, and I stayed up for another like 2.5 hours to get a few trophies. I went through and I was like, okay, well, I'm level 69 now. I'm going to go do bounties until I get 5 bounties done, and then hopefully by then I'll be level 70. I wasn't, so I did like a couple more, leveled up to 70, and then finally just set the game down. And I haven't played it since then, but I want to play it. I want to be able to someday have time to just play through Diablo 3 a bunch of times, because I think it's fun. I don't find any problem with the gameplay. I don't think I ever will, and for that, it's a masterpiece for replayability.
Yeah.
So the game development time seems to triple every Diablo title. So I'm assuming we'll see the next Diablo in
22 years.
something. Yeah. Oh no, that'd be doubling. Saying
Well,
tripling.
no,
let's go with
Tripling, so 33 years from its original release date.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So
you
we'll
guys
never
over 60.
we'll never live to see Diablo 5.
No, we won't. Unfortunately, no. It depends on how many times they restart in development, like how many times they're like, fuck this game, and then they make it again. Okay, so overall, guys, before we get to our scores, overall thoughts. Look, I think if you enjoyed 1 and 2, you will enjoy this game, but we'll probably be left kind of, missing Diablo 2, especially. But this is a really just fun game. It's a totally different outlook as far as like how you're going to go about this. This is about just just kicking back and having some fun with friends mostly. I mean, they made it online for a reason. They were like, basically, we want the online mode for Diablo 2, only that to be the game that we're pushing. And so it's like, well, you have to have online in order to play the single player. You might as well play the online version, right? And you know what? It's a totally fun experience, and I really enjoyed it.
Does it make you regret not playing D2 with me? because it makes me regret not playing D2.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. However, I think the only downside is like it's not as challenging. It has less personality than I think the first two Diablos had. But there's a reason this is one of the biggest games of all time now. I think they said like because of all the different versions of Diablo 3 that's been sold, it's like the 10th best selling game of all time already. And it's like, what? Holy shit. This game, I think it started out, it had a little rough start, and of course it had a rough development, but it has now become a much more matured, very fun game, and I'm glad I'm reviewing it now because there's been updates.
A lot of updates.
So I think this game is totally worth playing, even if you haven't played the first two Diablos. It doesn't fucking matter. This is it's like a separate experience.
Yeah, it kind of explains what kind of happened in the other two games in a little overbit.
Story's never been important to this series.
Yeah, not necessarily.
And this one has the most story out of the other two, so you don't really like. That's what I did. I didn't beat the first two. And I had only played a little bit of the first one. I played this, and I kind of already knew what happened. So
it's about dungeon destroying, and it's just fun.
Yeah.
So overall, I think it's great. What do you?
I think so too. I enjoyed like all the little shit in the game that you can do. Like, did you guys ever get into the Whimsyshire little area?
I don't think so.
It's a little area that's fucking hilarious because it's there's just a little portal will open up and it's like a rainbow portal and you go in and then it's just like this happy area. It's like bright colors. There's like teddy bears and unicorns running around. There's clouds with like smiley faces and you just brutally fucking kill everything in there, and it is awesome.
Oh wow, that does sound pretty sweet.
They love doing that stuff in Diablo.
All right, what do you think overall?
Overall, I think it's a game that's definitely worth playing, and I think it's something that the clan would be willing to get together with people to support.
Yes.
At times, I don't know when I'll be able to, but I know Craig's always on there.
Let's be clear.
Yeah. And I think it's definitely worth your time. If you guys haven't picked it up yet, please do. The console version is great because there's the dodge roll function and there's the PlayStation 4 functionality with the chat rooms and all of that. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and I think it's worth every minute. So go pick it up, and it's never going to drop in price again.
Okay, what are our overalls?
On sale like a week ago.
All right, so my overall score was a 45 out of 50. Craig's was also a 45 out of 50, and Joe was a 42 out of 50, bringing the official Nude Clan rating for Diablo 3 87 out of 100.
Oh, that's pretty good. I think, okay, so it's the worst in the Diablo series, but it's only worst by like 2 points.
Yeah, Diablo 1 was 80. 89.
I think it was 89, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good game. I really enjoyed it. I think it's totally worth playing gameplay-wise. There are some aspects that are once again lacking, but I think it's just a great game and a lot of fun. So, guys, go check out Diablo 3.
Okay, so as you guys know, we had some lineup changes, and we're going to be introducing a new review segment where we review a
new
game.
Review schedule.
Yeah. But it's kind of a new segment / style where we're going to review a game based on a movie
or based on previous media.
Yeah, so like Walking Dead games, Game of Thrones games, yada yada.
If there's a game just based on a comic book, you could do it. You could probably do like Mortal Kombat versus DC. Like that would count in this category.
Yeah, it would.
Not that we're nominating it, but go ahead.
All right, so the quad game based on a movie, all of us will be playing.
Pretty much it allows us to play shitty games because we've been playing a lot of classic games that none of us have gotten to.
Yeah.
And so some people are like, why don't you guys play something that you might hate every once in a while? And it's like, well, that's a good point, but we are the ones nominating. So this is kind of forcing us to go, oh, fuck, let's nominate the Transformers game or something like something terrible.
All right, guys. So what do we have for nominees for a game based on a movie? What's yours, Joe?
I nominate the classic game. Dude, you have no idea. When I first saw this game, I thought it was the world's best looking game on the planet. And I thought it was the funnest game on the planet. And it got a little too hard for me. I was not old enough to play this game, really. And I remember it being a little clunky the second time I played it when I was like 16. I was like, I really thought this was that great. But you know what? I fucking love the universe that it's in. So I don't give a fuck. I am nominating Enter the Matrix. Yes.
All right, so we called Cameron up, and his nomination is going to be Lego Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars. An odd choice, considering the other Lego Star Wars games available.
Yeah.
But whatever. I am going to go with Lord of the Rings, The Third Age. Think Final Fantasy X meets Lord of the Rings.
Sounds pretty sweet, actually.
Think another RPG review.
That's right. I've nominated an RPG. It's happened.
Okay.
All right. And mine is the Wheel of Time game.
Oh, you're going to have to burn that shit if it wins. Dude.
Yes, Joe gave that game to me years ago,
Yeah,
and I
that's true.
played it, and it is weird. It has like literally nothing to do with the books at all.
So this will be a super review where all four of us will play it, and that'll be happening in like, I don't know how many weeks, like 8 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be after Caleb and I play Silent Hill.
Yeah, it's 8 weeks from now.
So
a
our
couple
review
months.
schedule, guys, it is next review in 2 weeks is going to be the movie Street Fighter.
Oh man, I
please
cannot wait.
Get your reviews in, guys. We got this wonderful copy of Street Fighter ready to just be shipped out to whoever wins the review thing. But we've only got two to compete with. Honestly, the possibility for success is high. So
It is.
Yeah.
get them on in.
You'll have a really high like even if there's only one more review, it's like a really high chance of getting this fucking game as long as it's like a good review, right?
Yeah.
So, keep that in mind. Yeah, please give us your reviews and you'll get a free copy of Street Fighter, a classic apparently. I've never seen it.
It is a classic.
And then 2 weeks after that is Silent Hill. And then 2 weeks after that will be whatever you guys vote on this week. So, guys, make sure to go to nudeclan.net if you're not there already. And please go to this episode, Diablo 3, and there will be the poll. The poll will be there, and it's going to be waiting for you to give us your vote for next time. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for this week, guys. Yeah, once again, nudeclan.net. You can go to facebook.com/nudeclan podcast. That's nude spelled NEWD there. You can also go to twitch.tv/nudeclangaming, where you can see mostly Craig, but sometimes other people play the games live. And if you want to do some live discussion or just make fun of Caleb's face, that's the place to do it. You can tweet me at Joseph Goulier.
Me at Obsidian Bar.
Me at UFF Podcast.
Me at nudeclancam. And that's all I got. We'll see you guys next week.
Enjoy the nude.
Live always in the nude.
Fuck off.